So everyone should be able to see my screen now after we conclude this today. You should know how to pick a lawyer. Just for clarity, and I always have to give my disclaimer, I'm a lawyer, it's what we do. This is for education, not for litigation. And essentially what that means is this is for educational purposes only, is to help enrich your knowledge base so you understand exactly what you need to know. And then if you have to litigate for whatever reason, hopefully not, you would get a lawyer to assist you. And after having gone through this training, you'll be able to choose one that will be able to help you. Now, this is me. Hi, I'm Kamilah Jolly. I am licensed in Florida. I have been practicing since 2007, and I started my own law firm in 2008. And it essentially came from working with entrepreneurs. I used to be a bankruptcy attorney before, and working with entrepreneurs to help them to not have to file bankruptcy on their personal financial situation and only having if they had to close a business. I've always worked with entrepreneurs and business owners since I was little. I was the girl in middle school. I couldn't sell juice and chips, but I would tell everybody, hey, you take that peach check soda and you put it with some Cool Ranch Doritos, and then you add a green apple blow pop, and you got a winner. So I've always worked with entrepreneurs. It's something that I love to do, and it is something that I will likely continue to do for as long as I can breathe. Now, this is for if you look at this, it's like first-time founders, creators, coaches, aspiring entrepreneurs, nonprofits, small business owners. If you make money any kind of way that is not a W-2, like you're not an employee, this is for you. That's it. It's essentially for everyone who makes money outside of traditional 9-to-5 employment. Now, this matters specifically because you will not believe the amount of just chaos not having a good lawyer or just having any type of legal representation will cause. It's one of those things where a lot of people think that they can kind of get away and skate through without a lawyer. No, you really can't. And we'll talk about a little bit about DIY options, templates, and all of that stuff, all of those things a little bit later. But 44% of businesses face a legal issue due to unclear or breached contract. Now, this is my favorite stat right here in the middle. 5 times cost multiplier for legal services versus fixing versus preventing. Now, it's way more cost effective to prevent a legal issue from happening than fixing a legal issue. Every lawyer will tell you that. Come to me before, I can help preventative measures. If you come into me after, it's going to be at least 5 times more expensive. A lot of times it's 10, depending on what it is, because at that point it's already so far gone that you have to involve counsel. At that point, it's usually, in terms of financial planning, is difficult, right? And these other issues are things that people really don't pay attention to. The IP related legal 60%. It's probably a lot higher now. I think this study was done in about 2020, but I'm sure it's a lot higher now, especially with the advent of AI and everything that's being used to kind of train the models. So it's one of those things that you have to really pay attention to. Now, when to hire a lawyer. Now, not every decision requires legal counsel, but most of them do. And the thing is, there are so many different aspects of running a business that do or should require legal input to make sure that you are doing it correctly, that you are doing it within the bounds of the law for your state, your country, like your particular industry. So the first thing is formation. And every time you see me I take a big sigh, that's because I'm remembering a situation that happened with a client or several clients related to that particular area. So here, formation. If you have multiple owners, outside investors, if there is any other money involved that's not yours, you need a lawyer. And I say it that plainly and that directly because it's true. Any situation where there is more than one business owner, even with one business owner, you need your documents together. But if there is more than one business owner, you absolutely need to have the proper documents in place, usually from a lawyer or with the lawyer's input before the business is even formed. So that's partnership agreements. It's generally for multiple owners. If you are setting up a new business and you're taking outside investors, you're going to need to have specific things if you are taking, and when I say big money, we talk about startups, there are very specific things that they want you to have in your documentation. There are specific elections that you're supposed to take at different times. If you are self-funded and you're founder finance, it looks a little bit different for you in terms of the documents that you'll need when you're organizing and starting, but you should still have those things in place. Contracts. Contracts essentially govern every relationship that you have in your business, right? And if it's being governed by every relationship, every boundary that you have, everything that you need to know, what to do, what not to do, this is where contracts come in place. And contracts aren't always called contracts. Sometimes they're called privacy policies. Sometimes they're called agreements, but they're all contracts. Essentially, they are the boundaries of the relationship that you have with that person. When it comes to data, privacy, anything where you are collecting information, marketing, all of those things generally have very strict compliance guidelines. And a lot of people don't always abide by them, but because you want to make sure that you are running your business legally and correctly, this is where a lawyer can help you. Intellectual property. I know Timmy will talk about that in way more detail later, but if it is the property of your brain, if it's coming out of your head, there's some type of protection that you need for it. And you will need a lawyer to, one, assist you in determining how you protect that property. Because how you treat something that is a trade secret or a recipe or things like that that you want to keep closely, you may not and probably shouldn't put that up for copyright. So there's all of these little nuances that a lawyer can help you with. Regulated services, healthcare, finance, education, money, anything related with money if you are lending. These are all things that require specific guidelines. These are all things that have specific regulations around them. Disputes. Everyone likes to think that they won't have an issue in your business in terms of having difficulty or having a challenge with a relationship or with a person. Just plan for it. Whether you want it to happen or not, you should be aware and have your business protected from the beginning. Now, what kind of lawyer do you need? This is a huge component of choosing a lawyer. There are a lot of lawyers. We do a lot of different things, right? There are a lot of different specialties. And this is particularly important because you need a lawyer for your specific need. You need a lawyer for your specific industry and niche. You cannot go get a family lawyer and have them help you with a business contract. Like in theory, you can, but what happens is what is specific to family law is not going to work in business law, right? So generally speaking, as a business owner, you will find some lawyers, there's a lot of overlap between like trademark lawyers and business lawyers, corporate lawyers, because usually trademarks are one aspect of business and there's a lot of overlap. And usually you'll find that if a trademark lawyer does, trademark copyright, that they also have experience with business and corporate and contracts. Now, where it gets really, really technical is that if you are in music, you're in the music industry, you want a lawyer that's going to primarily focus on the music industry. So yes, they'll know trademarks. Yes, they'll know contracts, but more specifically, they will know business and music contracts. It's the same thing with film. Film and music, a lot of people think that they're the same. They are not. They are not. So generally speaking, these are the different types of lawyer specializations. Business corporate primarily focuses on contracts, paper, negotiation, mergers, acquisition, that kind of stuff. And also compliance. There's usually a compliance aspect of working with business and corporate as well. IP, trademarks, copyright. I didn't put patent on here, but patent is also a part of that as well. Employment. Employment, when you get employees, the joy of being a manager or working with people, it's very nuanced for that particular specific area of law. Like calling someone a contractor because you don't want to pay their FICA and MICA taxes, that's not how it works. There are lawyers to help you navigate that aspect. And it's something that you absolutely should look into if you have employees or you plan on having employees, to know exactly what you need to do. Because hiring, handbooks, what you can and cannot say in interviews, how you classify contractors. Most people do that part wrong, where they're W-2 or 1099. There's legal ramifications for those things. Regulated niches. If you work in HIPAA, if you are, for instance, a mental health professional, or you have a med spa business, or you do home health aid, or all of these things require lawyers who understand those industries and the regulations and laws for them. Now, litigation. This is also, I separated it out and made it its own separate thing, specifically because there are lawyers. I'm a primarily transactional lawyer now. I used to do litigation. I don't as much anymore. So my focus is more on negotiating and coming to a resolution. Litigators like to fight. They want to fight for you. So that is a very specific skill set. And you need to make sure that if you are working with a lawyer, that they can handle what you need for that specific legal issue that you are having. Now, let's talk about how to vet a lawyer. Call it the 6 R's. Relevant. Do they routinely handle the matter, the legal issue that you have, right? This is really, 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 really a big deal. And I said all of those reallys because it's really a big deal. I cannot have, or I do not practice family law. So if someone comes to me with a prenup, it might read legally correct, but I have no idea if that is the industry standard. Now, if someone came to me and they are starting a restaurant business and they're working with their vendors and they give me a contract, I can go through that contract and say, hey, the industry standard for this is not what this contract says. It should be this. It should be something different. So you have to make sure that the persons or the attorneys that you're working with have experience with working in the legal area that you need them. Regulated. This is really big. Make sure that they are in good standing with a state bar. If it's trademarks, that's a little bit different. It just needs to be in the United States. But specifically, if you are working on a contract matter or something for your state, make sure they are licensed in your state. I've seen a lot of issues come up because people have someone from like Minnesota or Oregon or California to go through and redline their contract, but they're not licensed in the state that the person has their business. And this causes issues because not all states are the same. I'm licensed in Florida. Florida is very particular about everything. They are very precise and they have a very specific way of doing things. So while things might be possible for California and New York, they won't fly in Florida or vice versa. So it's one of those things that you have to make sure that the attorney that you are working with is at least licensed in the jurisdiction or the place that you have your business, the state that you have your business, or they have an attorney on staff that has that license. This is also a really big thing because now there are a lot of people who are not actually attorneys who are telling and giving legal information. And a lot of it is wrong. And that's why you see some of the craziness or some of the things that happen to people because they listen to Google or someone off the internet and they didn't know what they were talking about, generally, much less more specifically to the state. Reviews. Look at Google reviews. Look at Facebook reviews. Type in whatever name of the law firm or the lawyer and then put reviews after it. You want to make sure that one, reviews will tell you everything, but you want to make sure that based on the reviews that they actually do what you need them to do. Because usually in reviews, people will tell you like, oh, they did an amazing job. We had, this huge issue with X, Y, and Z, and they solved it or they helped make it clear or look at them. Now, if the reviews are kind of crazy or kind of wild, you should always expect there should be at least like one or two bad reviews. But if that's all you see are bad reviews, that would be a red flag. Responsiveness. You want to know when you are choosing a lawyer that when you talk to them, that you will at least be able to get communication back in a timely manner. A lot of lawyers struggle with this, or used to struggle with this. I know a lot more have put in systems to help them deal with this. But you want to make sure that 1 to 2, maybe 3 or 4 business days at most, not 2 or 3 weeks are going by, so you can hear on your legal matter. Resources. This one depends entirely on how tech savvy your lawyer is. But most lawyers, I shouldn't even say most, there are a lot more tech savvy lawyers now. So you want to know if they have a client portal. Can you text them? Do you have to call them? Can you email them? Do they have materials that you can look through that will answer your question without you having to call them all the time? Now, relationship fit. This one is really big. I am one of those people, like if I wouldn't pay for a meal for you, then I can't work with you. And I know that might be a little bit, I don't want to say controversial, but different than what a lot of people do. But it's just my general rule on how I work with people, especially service providers. And that's because I'm specifically looking to build a long-term relationship. Now, questions that you can ask. Plain English. Do they talk to you in plain English? If they can't communicate to you in plain English in a way that you can understand, then there may be some difficulty long term in your understanding the options when they're presenting something to you. Clarify who is the primary point of contact. Will it be the lawyer? Will it be their assistant? Will it be a paralegal? Will it be an intern? Who are you going to talk to and communicate with the most? If there's a team of people, that's fine, but you just need to know who you will be communicating with. And then most lawyers, well, all lawyers really should do a conflict check to make sure that they are not representing anyone else and they don't have any ethical issues. Most good lawyers will provide you with a written engagement letter, or you'll understand the terms and conditions. They'll tell you where you'll be able to find them. Everything will be clear, and you'll usually have an idea of how much you're paying now or a range. And then you can get regular status updates from them without asking. And they take an educational approach to working with them so you understand what's going on. Now, red flags, vague or shifting fees. Lawyers are kings and queens of it depends. That's fine. But if it depends with no actual end date, no range, no anything, that's the problem. Scope of work. You should know exactly what you are paying for or what they're going to do for you. You don't need to know how they're going to do it, but you need to know, okay, they're going to redline this contract for me. They're going to summarize it. They're going to let me know what's wrong with it and what I should look out for, what I shouldn't look out for. If you have a lawyer and they are unwilling to explain the downside, that's a huge red flag. Because part of your relationship with the lawyer is like our ethical obligation is to tell you like this could be good, this could be bad. And then we cannot guarantee anything. So if you have a lawyer and they're like 100%, 1,000% guarantee, wait a minute. How can you guarantee? Nothing in this world is promised? And that's the first thing you learn as a lawyer. Nothing is promised. Everything changes. Now, fee models. There are 3 basic models: flat fee, hourly, and fractional counsel or subscription model is one that is becoming increasingly popular. Flat fee, you're essentially quoted and they tell you, okay, it's going to cost you $2,000 or $2,500 to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's what a flat fee is. Hourly, it's going to be $500 an hour, $200 an hour, $750 an hour, $300 an hour, $50 an hour for this work. And then they'll tell you, okay, we think it might be this many hours, but we're not sure. We won't know until we get into it. Generally speaking, depending on the state, if you're dealing with hourly or flat fees, usually you pay that into a trust account and they bill against the trust and they send you like an itemized bill that tells you 0.5, 0.2, because hourly is billed in out like 6-minute increments of an hour. Fractional counsel subscription. I love this because I don't personally like billables. I don't like tracking my time for hourly, so I do flat fee in this one. But this one is essentially you pay this much and you get these services. So it's flat fee, but on a recurring basis. Now, to give you an idea or an estimate of pricing, formation can be as little as 500 to as much as 1,500 for a single member LLC, and maybe a little bit more now, but it varies greatly. And this is where you have to do your research to ensure that you are comfortable with the price for what you're going to pay and for who you're going to pay it to. Trademarks can range anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 when you are working with a lawyer. I am not talking about LegalZoom. Lawyers lovingly and affectionately call it Legal Doom and not LegalZoom because we see it causes so many issues. But for an actual lawyer that is with their own law firm, expect to pay anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000 for a trademark with a single class. And again, that's a very broad estimate. You will see less or you may see more. And then contracts. If it's something where you're asking them to draft a template, and that can be anywhere from 500. I have 2,000 here, but it's probably 2,500 now. So these are kind of the pricing guidelines that you'll see. Anything outside of that's a little too low, kind of give it a side eye because something's up with that. Okay. How to work with a lawyer counsel effectively. Gather all of your documents. You don't want to waste the attorney's time, especially if you are working with an attorney and they're charging you by the hour. You want to make sure you have everything that you need and everything that they need to get your legal matter handled as quickly and efficiently as possible. Decide what your non-negotiables are. For some people, I have had people and they come to me and they're like, I'm more tech savvy and my firm is virtual. We have an office, but most of my clients, we don't see each other in person. It's Zoom and it's phone calls. And I have some people who will come to me and they're like, no, I need to see you in person. And I tell them, okay, well, our firm doesn't really operate that way. For them, that's a non-negotiable. And they say, no, I need someone else. Can you refer me to someone else? Or do you know someone else? Because I need to see you in person to know you. And that's perfectly okay. That's fine. But you want to decide what your non-negotiables are when you are working with an attorney so you can feel comfortable working with them. You have to tell me what's happening so I can advise you correctly. And if you're not comfortable talking to me, then that's going to affect how I legally represent you, how I legally advise you, because I won't know all the facts because you don't feel comfortable telling me everything. Build systems, not one-offs. This is one of the things, just when I put my business hat on and not my lawyer hat, this is where templates come in. And when I say templates, I mean templates. If you are a service provider or you are working with or doing specific things consistently, not necessarily services, but other things, this is where it's helpful to have templates. I have some clients who everything that they do is a different type of document. And it costs them more money because they haven't sat down to think about their system and their business and how they want to operate. Then I have some clients, everything is systematized for them. And it's kind of amazing for them, or as a business owner, because when I prepare a document for them, I know that they only offer 5 services. So I can create a template where it's literally a checkbox and they have the client select which service it is that they're offering. And that's wonderful for them. Kind of sucks for me as a business, but it works for them and it works for them and how they operate. So that's one of the things that if you haven't thought about in your relationship with an attorney, consider it. Now, special cases, creators, coaches, and course builders. These are some of the things that you should generally look out for: intellectual property protection, content licensing, refund policies, affiliate agreements. These are things that you want to make sure that an attorney that you work with has experience working with. Because let me tell you something, the ambassador agreements, creator agreements, influencer partnership agreements, that is a whole other ball game. It's like the wild, wild west. So if you are working with an attorney, you want them to be able to know what's happening in that industry. Therapists and Christian counselors, privacy laws, informed consent, telehealth, multi-state issues if people are licensed in more than one state because they operate differently, and sensitivity. Like, you cannot market yourself as a Christian counselor. There are very specific designations and things that you need to have. So these are kind of the legal issues or specialties or focuses that you want an attorney to work with or have not experience in if they are offering, or if you're working with them and you're a therapist or a Christian counselor. Nonprofits. You want an attorney that has worked with a nonprofit, and you also want an attorney that has worked with a nonprofit in your state. Because, like, specifically Florida, it's not just the 501c3 status that you get with the IRS. You also need additional information. You need to request like, you have to have a license, or not really a license, but a form to solicit donations in your state. So if you are working with someone and they are not familiar with a nonprofit, they've never worked with a nonprofit before, you might not be in compliance. Not necessarily not with the IRS, but with your actual state jurisdiction. DIYs. AI. I know a lot of people like to use AI. I understand if you're using it to help you get clarity on a specific contract provision, but having it write a contract for you, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. One, now I don't know. I think some of the services have decided that they're not going to offer any type of legal, medical health, and then there's another one, therapeutic advice. But also, I have the training and I have the schooling, and I have the student loan debt to understand fully and exactly what, if I'm using AI, what should or should not be there. You don't necessarily unless you have that background. So I have encountered clients who have had AI draft contracts for them, and it's a great contract, but it is not anything related for the state or for what my client actually needs at all, even a little bit. And they have no idea. They didn't know until they had me look at the contract, because they're thinking, oh, AI knows. AI will tell me. No, AI doesn't know. AI is programmed and designed to agree with anything you tell it to do. It will agree with you and say it's great. So you have to keep that in mind. Quality templates. There are a lot of attorneys who sell contract templates through a template shop. And sometimes, a lot of times, these will be okay. But the thing is, again, you have to make sure that it complies with your state laws. So I've seen situations where someone has purchased a contract template from an attorney in California, and it is not at all usable in Florida because a lot of the provisions were incorrect. So if you're going to do this, at least work with an attorney to review the contract, edit it, because a lot of attorneys will not edit templates. They'll just review it and tell you what's wrong with it. So first, check if you plan on using a template. First, check if you have a relationship with an attorney, if they can draft one for you. If you don't and you're purchasing from a template shop, make sure that it is actually usable in your state and not from, oh, the template shop owner tells me it's good everywhere. Yes, generally speaking, there's a lot of law that is the same, but it's not all the same. And you want to make sure that you are protected. So Your action plan is you're going to assess your legal risk or assess what you need a lawyer for. You're going to check out its specializations. When you're looking, they have what I need. You're going to talk with them and get started just kind of to test the relationship with them. And then you can go from there and continue and build a relationship.